Hello, dear members of Anish Chess Club, dear chess friends. My name is Anna Burtasova. I'm Woman Grandmaster from Toronto. And today I want to show you one of my recent games, which is very dear to my heart. Um, and I want to explain what was going on behind the scenes in my head when I made the moves, the ideas behind my moves, so kind of a dive into the mind of a Grandmaster. I hope you'll enjoy it. This game was very important at the time I played it because I played it for the national team of Canada during the 2021 online chess Olympiad, and we played against the Netherlands. We won the match, and I was happy to contribute to this victory. Uh, Normal Olympiads were not possible during the pandemic. A lot of players are coming to these gatherings, like literally thousands of players and coaches and other persons that come along. So basically, because of that, International Chess Federation made a decision to hold two online Olympiads instead in 2020 and 2021. And this one that we played in 2021, and I was proud to be part of the Canadian team, um, we really did very well. We finished third in our group behind Poland and US. So a really good result, just one place short of qualification to the playoff. Um, and this match was one of the important ones during that Olympiad. So I'm playing against Grandmaster Peng, and I'm playing with black. At the moment that I'm recording this video in December 2022, there are only 40 female players in the whole world that hold the Grandmaster title, which is the highest title in chess. And Peng is one of them. So I was really proud to play against her. And she's a very nice person, very well respected. She's multiple national champion of the Netherlands. So of course this game was really important. She plays white and she starts with c4. For a while I played copycat here. And the reason for it is that I wanted to see how she will define the position in the center and then play accordingly. So here she played e4 and basically giving up the d4 square, which means that I want to play around it now. That's why I played e6. So my idea is not to have the same vulnerability in my camp as she has now with d4, and I'm protecting this d5 square. Basically, these two little moves and the plans of both sides are pretty much defined now. Black will play around d4 square. White will try to push d4 with possibly knight e2, then d3, bishop e3, d4, trying to push it. Another plan would be to try to push for b4. I could also try for b5 at some point. And both sides have a plan of pushing on the king side too, f4, and then possibly, 5, maybe e5, depending on the position in the center. So in this structure, the play will go all around the board. So it's quite complex and really nice. So she starts with knight e2, basically one of the plans that I showed to try for d4 at some point. Yeah, I'm continuing to develop, so a little more of copycat here, but this shouldn't fool you. In fact, these two pawns are on different squares, and this defines plans for both sides. Just this little nuance, and it's not symmetrical anymore, and the plans are different. She plays d3, opening her bishop, and I played a6 here. Well, another plan was just to play d6 and then b6, and white will play b4, so I'm allowing this and just develop my queen to d7. But the thing is, it's fine for black. It kind of reminds of some hedgehog structures. But the thing is that I was not super familiar with this and with the plans in this position, and I think that for rapid play, and this was rapid play, it is super important to be comfortable with the position you're playing, to know the plans, to know what you're going to do. And I think it's more important than trying to push for advantage. because this works for you, works for your time management, for your energy management, and in rapid play this is especially important. So that is why instead of this I played a6. Another plan that I know, I'm trying to push b5 myself, and I'm more familiar with these plans, so I went for it. White plays bishop e3, and I can play knight d4 immediately without losing time for d6. This was the result of me delaying to play d6 for such a long time and first developing the king side. So I did it deliberately, exactly for the reason to be able to play knight d4 here right away. I think it is kind of important because I'm already supporting this knight with another knight next move, and it's more important than playing d6, which I can play at any moment of time, and it doesn't change whatsoever. So, of course, white can play knight d4 here, because obviously then you will lose one of the pieces, and taking with the bishop is not preferable, because then you just give your bishop, and I will try to open up a position and have two bishops, which is really nice. So instead, of course, she plays rook b1 and trying to push b4 and undermine my knight by attacking its protector, opponent c5. Yeah. So, as I said, naturally I play knight to c6, protecting my knight, stopping b4, supernatural move, and she insists with a3, continuing to push for b4. And here was an important moment for me, again, in terms of decision of what I will do next strategically. So I could just play b6 and go to the positions that are similar to the ones that I showed previously. But here white can also push b5, and I didn't really like that white becomes quite active on the queen side, gets some space advantage there, and I was not super comfortable with that, although this position is fine for black, and this was possible to play this way. So instead, I just played a5 to stop this b4 completely and forever. But of course it comes at the expense of b5 square. White played f4 here, going on with another plan, which is quite natural in these positions. So basically d4 failed, b4 also failed, so it's natural to start pushing on the king side now, because, well, what else to do? But I think that it was still possible to persist, you know, with putting pressure on d4 and possibly trying for b4, still by playing simply knight b5, using this square that I just gave up. And I would just play d6, but I think it's nice, you know, at some point you can play b4. Maybe, possibly, you know, this idea is in the air. There is a pressure on d4, and the thing is that taking on b5 is not good for black, because then the pawn will take with tempi, and then this knight has to go somewhere. It can go to d4, but then the structure will be probably not the best. So I think that knight b5 was preferable in this position, to use this square immediately. So I play, because f4 you can play all the time, I mean anytime you can play f4. So white played f4 still, so d6 from my side, well, within my plan. I mean, I just want to develop. Bishop f2, rook b8. I want to play b5 myself. It is well supported by my knight, now my rook, and I want to get active on the queen side. And here again, I think that white should have played knight b5 and stop this way, so creating pressure on d4 and stopping b5. The game could go on like this: e5, because now I'm not afraid of knight jumping to d5, right? It went the other way. And after all these exchanges, white could fix this pawn structure, which I think is slightly preferable for white. Black, I think, is still fine. It's nothing horrible, but I think white has slight edge here, and I would prefer to play white in this position. Yeah, but instead she went for taking on d4 and then just king h1. I think that at this moment, you know, White started to lose track of the game a little bit, because the last moves, they just look going back and forth, so to say, not really changing much, and not clear what is the plan that White want to perceive. Bishop d7. I'm just still trying to push b5, and here my opponent plays a4, also stopping b5 completely and just blocking our structure on the queen side, that nothing will really happen there anymore. Instead, she had another opportunity to play b4, which looks nice, because after the exchange you are kind of creating this eternal weakness on b7. But the thing is that I was not afraid of that, and probably she also didn't want to go for it, because black is super active. And this pawn on b7 will probably not fall, because after bishop c6 it's just cementing the position, protecting it perfectly, and black is super active. This knight on d4, this bishop, you know, rook will go to a8, and the control of a file is really great for black. So I think she also didn't want to let me have this position and such an activity. That's why she just blocked it with a4. So I continue just with the development of my pieces. Very natural bishop c6 move, rook e1. Another move, you know, which is not. I don't know what was the plan of White. I mean, this moves of bishop to f2, king to h1, rook e1, they are not changing much. It's basically White is standing and going back and forth. So I decided that this is my psychological edge. At this moment, I have to push for more, because obviously White doesn't really know what to do. And she also started to go lower on time, I think. So I started to push f5 first. Again, queen d2, not really defining anything, and I decided that it's time to push even further and play e5, creating all this pressure in the center, so White can, of course me, but White is lower on time, and she has to calculate all these exchanges all the time, and this really puts some pressure on your opponent. And this was when she cracked. She decided not to keep this pressure anymore and just take here. Instead, for example, there was a nice opportunity for White to take here and then install her own knight on d5. If I just take this pawn on a4, it's a bit tactical, but it's not difficult. It's just rook e1, and the pawn on a5 will fall. So I have to go back. She can take on f5 and take this pawn, and I think this is really nice for White. And I think White has an edge. This knight is very strong. The pawn structure is nice. My bishop on g7 so far is not doing anything except for looking at its own pawns. So I think that was the way to go. Instead, she decided to take the pressure off the center in such a way, and taking on f5 too. So of course I exchanged these bishops, you know, to make her king more vulnerable. And here is one of the crucial moments of the game, maybe actually the crucial moment, because I took with a rook. I could take just with a pawn and play this kind of position. She has very strong knight on d5, but I have my pluses too, you know, my center, and I think it's double-edged. It will be an interesting game from now on, how I will try to play around this knight, and she will, of course, try to use it at her advantage. But instead, I played a rook f5, and my idea was to create some attack on the king side, with possibly rook h5, queen d7, you know, and going full throttle on the king side. And the problem is that it doesn't quite work. And I will show you why. White takes on d4, that's what she played. I take, and here is this crucial moment which proves that it doesn't really work, because she could play knight d5 here. She didn't go for it. Maybe she believed me that I calculated everything. Maybe she also, as me, overestimated black's position after rook takes, queen takes. Of course, I saw this when I went for rook f5, and I totally overestimated this position. I thought that it is really nice for black, which is, of course, in fact, not. I thought that, okay, my bishop will at some point come here, my queen is super active, my rook will come here, I will create, you know, some attack, her king is vulnerable, and here I have this nice c4 move, but in fact it's nothing. Yeah, here I'm protecting a5 at the same time as creating this d4 passed pawn, and I thought, okay, I'm doing great. But in fact, no, white just takes here, and then plays b3, and then blocks this pawn with queen d3. Of course, queen is not the ideal piece to block the pawn, but it works here, so why not? And then after rook not rook, bishop h6, trying to jump to e3. White just plays this. I have to protect, and I cannot jump to e3 because of this x-ray here. So if you jump to e3, white would just take with a rook. So it means that I have to move my bishop back to protect this pawn somehow, and I'm kind of stuck with black. I cannot do anything. I just go back and forth with my rook because nothing else I can do. And while you may think that white is also stuck, it is not true, because white can just basically play h4, I think, and then it comes to g4, to g5, possibly take on g6, h5, and white is just winning here. So this knight d5 was just winning for white, actually. And she didn't play it. I don't know the reason, whether she believed me or overestimated my position too, but she played knight e4. And here, of course, I was very happy with my position because I started to quickly unravel the attack on the king side with queen d7. And I'm dropping this pawn, but I don't really care for it because it will distract the queen from the king side, protecting the king. And this is what happened. So rook h5, I'm jumping with all my pieces on her king side. Her queen is very far away, and now she played knight f2, after which basically I won in a few moves because everything is just going so naturally for black. Instead, she should have played h4. This was a better way to protect herself, although, you know, it's scary to push your pawns away from the king when it is vulnerable already, yeah? But the thing is that if I play queen g4 here, then you can just play knight f2 with a tempo, and I have to go back. And of course, I will bring another rook. I will still continue with my attack. I would be actually happy with this position. I think it's for rapid play, it's great at the expense of the pawn to get this attack, very active position. But objectively, white is good here. Objectively, white is good. For rapid play, as I said, I would be happy with that. But she played knight f2 already in a time trouble, you know, it's really difficult to suddenly black is super active and everything starts to unfold really quickly, and it's difficult to cope with that. So rook f8, and she had to protect this knight on f2, and I'm just bring one more piece into attack. She played this. Okay, she could return her queen to d2. But black is just winning here. I think you can try to figure it out by yourself. It's not too difficult, but just maybe the next few moves which I played, you can then stop, pause this video and try to figure it out for yourself, how black can just finish this game with a few more attacking moves. So if you want, do it now. I'll give you a short time to do this. Do it. Okay, hopefully you figured it out, and it's just queen f3, king goes away, then the bishop comes into play, and after rook protects the knight, what else to do? I think the best way to play here is just rook g5, and white has nothing to do. Let's say white plays just some move, I don't know, b3. And then there is nice mate like this. Rook f5 and mate is coming. Yeah, instead white played rook to e1 instead of queen d2, but still doesn't help because bishop goes to h6 and very quickly just goes to e3, and this knight on f2 will fall. So this is where my opponent resigned. Well, I hope you enjoyed this game. I think it's quite instructive. It is not a one-way game, you know. It has mistakes and bad moves from my side, from her side. So it's like life, like every chess game almost. Good and bad. So this is what makes it exciting, and I hope to see you guys in our next chess club and perhaps play some games against each other, maybe some interesting games like this one. Thank you.